Now I'm going to show you some of the basics to how to use and how to create an ActivInspire flip chart. So the first thing I'm starting with is a blank flip chart. And I'm going to go over here to this page browser, and I'm going to go to the second tab, which is the resource browser. So that way I can add a background. You can scroll through. I've added backgrounds from Promethean Planet, which is linked right here. And I'm going to find a background I like. So once you find one, you can drag and drop it right onto the flip chart. So now that I found a background, I'm going to, what I found was easier, I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste just a bunch of these pages so I don't have to keep flipping. So for my lesson that I'm creating, I am creating the lesson for make sense and persevere, which was right in my lesson plan. I'm going to make my text a little bigger. I think I'm going to center it. I'm going to put it in the middle here. Voila. And I like to add down the bottom, Unit 3, Lesson 9, just for future reference when I look at it. I know exactly which one it is. But that part doesn't need to be as big. And I have this little guy here just because the background is from Promethean Planet, so that's their copyright. I'm going to go on to the next page where I always write the solve and share, which is page 217 for this lesson. And I'm going to just add in the solve and share here. I would type it in right from there. But now I'm going to show you something a little different. So when I write my objective, I write it, I make sure that this part is always black, but I color code my objectives. So when I write we will, then I'm going to go through here and I'm going to find my blue and I'm going to go right back to my lesson plan. So my lesson plan says we will develop strategies for making sense of problems. So there's my what. We will develop strategies for making sense of problems. And if you see it kind of goes off like that, I just kind of hit this center button just so that way it kind of drags it back. So we will develop strategies for making sense of problems, and I always change my by to another color, which is always yellow, but in this case it's kind of an orangey because it's hard to read if it's yellow. So I'm going to go back to my lesson plan, by applying problem solving practices. So go back here, applying problem solving practices. Okay, and I put a period. I'm going to drag this down a little bit and I'll show you why. So I put in my how and it matches my how in my problem. And then I always add in my what, as in what are we learning. And I color code that to match as well. Then I have to write my why. So in order to write my why, I like to change my text to red because everything is color coded. And I write my why. Why would we develop strategies for making sense of problems? In math, we are met with difficult tasks, period. And I'm going to center it and I'm going to go back and fix the word difficult. There we go. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so that way it fits and I'll show you why. Okay, I can make it a little bigger than that. Okay, so in math we are met with difficult tasks. Shrink it down a little. Squish it in. Okay, now I'm going to add an object. So I'm selecting this kind of box with the rounded corners and I'm selecting red with a black outside and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to drag it over top and I'm going to hide what I just wrote. Then I'm going to move what I wrote so it doesn't get stuck together. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to write Y. So we need to know why this is important, and that's what my red box is for. So what you can do with objects is you can use your selector and you can select both objects, and I'm going to select this middle icon here, and this means group. So now when I go to move one object, it moves as one. So when I move this back, I can cover it back up. It's the right size. So when you're actually doing the lesson, I grab this transparency slider and I slide it so that way we can read the Y, but it's not revealed until I want it revealed. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to insert a picture and then put a link with it. So my visual learning is always started the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my actual visual learning lesson, and I'm just going to snip it, and I've already snipped it here, so I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into my flip chart, and I'm going to paste the object. Kind of big, but that's okay because that's how I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into Action Browser. So all these actions can be done from the image that I selected. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to open, let's see, scroll down. I don't want it to open Promethean Planet. I want it to open a website. And you see when you click on open website, it gives you this URL option. I need to go back here and find my URL. Just copy it. And I'm going to paste it right in. You notice this goes away when I scroll off of it for a while. Okay, hit apply changes. There you go. Now, I don't want this to move. So, what I'm going to do, and it already clicked it open, I'm going to go back to it. What I'm going to do is in design mode, I'm going to lock it. And if you notice, if you go to click on it without it being in design mode, which is this little button up here where it's blue, every time you click on it, it opens a new one. So if you want to edit it after it's already done, you're going to have a problem until you go into design mode. Once I go in there, I can move it around again. It's not a problem. So once I'm out of design mode, I click it and it opens up my video in the website, in a new web page. And it's going to open whatever your default web browser is. In my case, it's Chrome. Okay, so here's my video. I can hit play. Lots of different things. Okay, so now I have some text, I have some hidden objects, and I showed you how to put an image and insert a link. So those are just some of the basics of how to use flip charts. There's a lot more tools in here that you can use, but those are the ones that I use most often.